Greetings, Flesh Wound Horror freaks, and welcome to Flesh Wound Horror Live. I'm Flesh Wound Dan, joined as always by producer Todd.
Good evening.
And our very special guest of the night, Joe Castro, legend, FX artist, actor now, director. You're doing it all. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Todd. It's great to be here. It's a true honor and a privilege to be on the show. And I just want to let you know I really appreciate you taking an interest in my work and allowing us, the independent filmmaker, to come and play and talk about ourselves. You know, what you do for the community is a very, very valuable and a very important part of our careers. And so we appreciate you very much.
Well, we appreciate you as well. Lots of great movie memories, and I'm sure we'll dive into that. But you've got some new projects, a lot of new projects that we're very excited about. I know Todd and I are big Terror Toons fans, so I still remember going into the video store and seeing that Brain Damage VHS, and so you have a premiere coming up for the fourth film, correct?
That's correct. We are premiering, having the world premiere of Terror Toons 4 this coming Friday in 2 days. And it's been 10 years in the making. We've been making this movie for 10 years, on and off. Of course, my husband, Steven Escobar, and I have other full careers as special effects artists. He's an editor and producing other things. So we've been like slowly chipping away at this kind of like this, what is it called, behemoth of a film. You know, like we made the first Terror Toons in 3 days. We literally shot it in 3 days. We shot it on Easter weekend, and it was a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, all the way to Monday morning. The first day was a 12-hour, regular 12-hour shoot day. And then the second day was a 17-hour day. And then the third day on Sunday when we came in was a 25-hour day, all the way to like Monday morning at like 8 a.m. when you can hear people starting their cars to go to work and garage doors opening up and, you know, the birds chirping, and we're trying to get the last shot while someone's trying to pump the blood as Dr. Carnage is dying, you know. And I remember at the very end of the last day going, we shot it in my executive producer's home, who he had given permission to this girl to come in and paint all the walls like cartoons. And so I crept into his bedroom, and I said, he was, you know, asleep on his bed, and I just kind of tapped him on the shoulder. I said, "Hey, we're done. You have a movie." That's how it ended. Yeah, and I'm not even remotely kidding, you know. But yeah, that was good time. That was back in 2001, and you know, you can't make. I mean, you can, but it was a different time. It was a different era for filmmakers and how we make money and how we, in turn, take our films and put them out into the world. You know, back then you could make a movie I made that movie for $2,300.
Oh wow! And very ambitious film too.
It was considered. There was like this IMDb like poll, I guess. No, IMDb like list. Like what is it? High budget, high concept, low budget films. Like it made it into the top 20 high budget, low concept, or no, high concept, low budget films. And you know, what was the point I was trying to make? Oh, you know, yeah. It was just we didn't really have anybody telling us you can't do that. You can't do that for 22. You can't do that. So we just did it, you know. And it's no secret. Like back in the day, in like the 1950s, they used to make movies in 3 days. What they would do is they would shoot a film on a regular budget, and if they had enough film left over at the end of the shoot, they'd say, "Well, how much time you got there?" You know, and they'd be like, "Oh, we got about 120 minutes worth of film here." Like you could shoot a 90-minute movie with that, you know, or an 80-minute movie with that, and maybe you get like 2-to-1 shooting ratio on some takes, you know, if you play your cards right. And so they would go and make a whole other film on what they had left. You know, that's where short ends came from, you know. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of took that whole concept and ran with it when we did the 3-day shoot. I'm like, hey, if they can do it, and they would shoot the movie in 3 days, you know, because they had like maybe a couple of days left over for studio rental. They had, a 1-to-1, sometimes 2-to-1 shooting ratio, and they're like, let's do it. And they would literally. In fact, I worked on a film in Austin, Texas, where the basis of the film was about the making of one of these low budget films in the 1950s. It was called Attack of the Bat Monster. And what they would do is they would give the writer some meth, basically, and they would say, and they're like a little bit of money, and they say, when you bring me the 30 pages, you get some more meth and you get a little more money. And you got to bring it to me at the end of the day, and we'll shoot that stuff the next day. And that's how they would make these micro budget movies back in the 50s.
Meth addicts get stuff done. Just always on time.
So I just took that whole concept and said, we're going to shoot a movie in 3 days. We're going to do 1-to-1 shooting ratio. And what would happen is we would rehearse the take, and then we would shoot it. And if they messed up the take, I would just pick up the take from where they messed up from a different angle. And then I go forward from there, And that's how we did Terror Toons 1. But we shot that movie in 3 days, $2,300. I think it took us something like maybe about 11 months of post-production to put it together, because in 2001, when people were editing non-linear, it was very, very different. It was Final Cut Pro, non-linear. It was a different time. A lot of people didn't know about it. But what they would do is After Effects wasn't as prevalent. And so when we made Terror Toons 1, my husband, Steven Escobar, taught himself how to use After Effects in order to build all that stuff, As he'd teach himself a little something, we'd make an effect and move forward with the edit, this kind of thing. So Terror Toons 4 has been 10 years in the making. It is basically a 100-minute special effects shot, literally. It's got a lot of practical, a lot of digital, even has some stop motion in there. But it's a labor of love, and we've been doing it for a long time, and I'm super proud of it. And I can't wait for. I think Todd, you're coming, right? Are you gonna come?
Yeah, that's the plan.
I can't wait for you to see it. I mean, Brink Stevens makes her directorial debut with this film. She actually wrote, starred in, and directs a portion of the film, a 38-minute portion of the movie. It's called Personal Demons, and it's done very like classic, what's that Walt Disney film with the with that big demon character and it's on top of the mountain?
Fantasia.
It's done in a very Fantasia kind of like style, and it's called Personal Demons, and Brink Stevens wrote it and directed it.
Oh, it's awesome. Love Brink.
Yeah, she's an amazing talent. Yeah.
And
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I'm looking at the cast. There's some cool people in there.
Yeah, Billy Butler's in it too. Billy Butler from Billy Butler's a very well known director now, but he was in the remake of Night of the Living Dead, directed by Tom Savini, and he was also in one of the Friday 13th and
Texas Chainsaw 3.
That's right. Yeah, Billy's in it, and Linnea's in it from Return of the Living Dead, and she does some really like smoky scenes with Brink. I'm excited for everybody to see. And then Debbie Rashan is in it. Debbie Rashan has a real nice part in it as well. So I'm super excited for everybody to see that. And then Terror Toons 4 is basically the majority of it is the origin story of Dr. Carnage. So when we made the first Terror Toons, we made it for $2,300 in 3 days. And I said, okay, if we're going to do the one last Terror Toons, we want to shoot it and make it look like the way we always really wanted it to look. So we're going to raise some money, and we're going to put all of it into this really cool origin story of Dr. Carnage. And that's what we did. We rented a movie studio. We brought in all the name talent we could find in LA at the time. We shot it during the pandemic, and Dr. Carnage and Max Assassin, the villains for the first film, get a makeover in this movie, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Let's put it this way: there's no fluff in this movie. It's all the good stuff. All good stuff. No fluff. Hopefully, by the end of the screening, your what do you call it? Your blood level will be elevated. Be like, I want people to be kind of like shaking a little bit.
And also somebody that Todd and I are familiar with, Lizzie Borden of XPW fame.
That's right. Lizzie has a portion of the film. Also, she's going to have her own story in the film as well. And let's put it this way: it's a whole class of Terror Toons all on her own. Lizzie is one of a kind. There's nothing like Lizzie Borden on the planet, and I'm so happy to present this one story about her in the film. And it was written by a fan of the first film. His name is Wesley Woodfin, and the portion of the film that Lizzie's in is called the Heads of Mr. Switch, and It's a really cool story. It's about a character that Dr. Carnage invents, and he's got the ability to change his heads. Anything possible, anything goes, right? So you can only imagine what he changes his heads into. But Lizzie's involved in that. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And it was interesting because when I saw Terror Toons, of course, I was a big Evil Toons fan. And when I saw your name on Terror Toons, I was like, oh, he worked on Evil Toons. It's like a childhood favorite.
Yes.
That was, Fredel and Ray. I have to give a big nod to Fred. Fred has been an amazing mentor and he's inspired countless of independent filmmakers all over the world. You can't even, his work has influenced everybody. And I remember seeing Biohazard as a child and Scalps, and being able to work with him on set the first time was just, it was like a dream come true. And he gave me the opportunity to work with Dick Miller, from The Howling and all the great films we love with the Gremlins and
Bucket of Blood,
Twilight Zone, the movie, and all of them. And I remember when Dick Miller came to sit in the makeup chair, I was supposed to put like a wound on the side of his head, and he sat down and I recognized who he was. And I didn't know I was putting makeup on Dick Miller. I was 19 years old. And he said, and I was shaking, and he said, what's wrong? And I'm like, you're Dick Miller, He's like, don't be embarrassed. Don't be nervous. And I'm like, oh, I'm trying, I'm trying not to be nervous. But Dick became a friend of mine, and, I was able to, kind of see his career continue on after that, and of course all the amazing things he's done, and of course he's passed on, and I was able to see him before he died, like a few months before he died, and went over and I held up this picture that someone took of me and him on set the very first moment I met him, and I tried to recreate that image with him later on right before he died, and it's just a real nice memory to have, and just a super nice man. Very talented man.
Yeah, I met him at a convention. He was really nice to my nephew, and really, really just a icon. I love Dick Miller so much.
Great documentary on him too. That guy.
Yeah, I had a chance to see that with him live downtown.
Oh, that's awesome.
Here in LA, and they did him justice. They really did a really good job for him. Yeah, and I remember. Let's see. What about Evil Toons? Oh. I got to work with Madison Stone and Artie Johnson. Remember Artie Johnson? Artie Johnson was in Love at First Bite. You remember him in Love at First Bite? And I just remember, as a child, I mean, what is that, 1978 or something like that when it came out? I just remember in the commercial seeing him laugh as he ate a bug or something like that, and then being able to work with Artie on that, it was also a dream come true. And of course, my dad's favorite movie of all time was, have you ever seen Lone Wolf McQuade?
Oh yeah, Chuck Norris.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So my dad's favorite movie of all time was Lone Wolf McQuade. He had it on like VHS, and anytime anybody came over to the house who had never seen it, it's like, hey, have you seen Lone Wolf McQuade? And they said no. I'm like, oh, here we go again. He must have seen that thing over 100 times on VHS. And when I got a chance to work with David Carradine and sent the pictures home, it was like the first or second year I was out here in LA, and he saw me with David Carradine. It was just, it really made my dad proud. So, and that's all I really wanted to do, is make your dad proud, And one other thing is, my dad always promised. My dad made me promise him that I would never stop living this, chasing the dream. And of course, now I'm living the dream, but chasing this dream, and because he knew it would be the thing that would make me happy, and he wanted me to be happy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we Todd and I were talking. I know Madison does tattoos now.
Yeah,
so we want to get an Evil Toons tattoo from Madison. That's the goal.
Well, your shop's over here. I believe it's over here still in North Hollywood on Magnolia Avenue, just past I want to say Tahunga or Cahuenga or something like that over there. Yeah. I haven't talked to her in many years, but she's also one of these one of a kind chicks as well.
And you've worked with so many legends, but also I know you worked on Uncle Sam with William Lustig.
Yeah, I did. At the time I had no idea how. Sometimes you just don't know how close you are to greatness. You know what I mean? Or like, I didn't know that I was working with, like, all I knew that I had to go there and like remove the burn makeup off the little kid. And I know PJ Souls was on set, and I was what, 24 or something, like 25. I mean, how much are you really actually thinking when you're 24 years old? You're not even thinking. You're just like jumping from one moment to the next, right? So, but the real one of the real special moments I've had in my career that no one ever really talks about was I worked on a movie called Auntie Lee's Meat Pies.
Oh, yeah. Vinegar Syndrome just put that on Blu-ray last
year. Yeah. I worked on Auntie Lee's Meat Pies, and I made all the body parts. I put all together all the body parts, and then of course all the rest of the key heads did like the heads and this and that other kind of stuff, and the big snakes and whatnot. But got to meet Karen Black, Pat Morita before he died, and From the Hills Have Eyes,
Michael Berryman,
yeah. And back then, we didn't have cell phones, so you had to bring a camera on set, and I wasn't really thinking at the time, so I really don't have any pictures from then, but those would have been some good selfies to have.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. If you had like one movie, doesn't necessarily have to be a horror movie, that like inspired you, that just the one that made you follow your dream.
Yeah. You haven't heard this one yet? Everybody, I thought like almost every one of my interviews, this is the deal. This is how it goes down. So when I was 7 years old, my father was babysitting me because my mother was away. She was a school teacher, and it was like during the summer, and so the school teachers would all get together and they'd go like on vacation somewhere, that I'll drive to like another city or take a cruise or blah blah blah. And so she went away, and I guess my brother was out and about, with his friends. And he said, son, sit here and watch this. I'm going to be out. He's working on a goat ranch. I'm going to be out working on the goat ranch, and I know you're going to like this. And my father was like one of my biggest cheerleaders. Well, he was my biggest cheerleader in my family. And he knew what I liked. I grew up liking what dinosaurs and dragons, like most young men. And he sat me down and he made me watch Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. And it was most people don't realize this, but Godzilla versus the Smog Monster is it's like probably the darkest, most twisted of the original Godzilla film. Godzilla almost dies in it when he's at that pit in the bottom. He's like choking on all the gas and whatnot. And that was like the first feature film that I sat and watched by myself without any supervision in the room. And when that movie was over, it was a Saturday afternoon creature feature, and when the credits started to roll, my dad came in to check on me, and he said, "Would you like that?" And I'm like, "How do they do that, Dad?" He said, "Well, let's look." And he sat with me, and we watched the credits roll, and you can see where it said creature effects. Of course, it was American. What do you call it? Where they changed the word to American, but whatever, creature effects and whatnot. And he said, that's how they do it. They do it with special effects, son. That's how they do it. And I said, yeah, that's what I want to do. And that was where it all began. I mean, it's as clear as it was yesterday. I can remember it specifically how it went down. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We actually have a question. Dan, you want to read that one for us?
Yeah.
Wait, wrong one. There we go. Ben Grimm.
Ben Grimm asks, what special effects moment in a movie are you most proud of?
Oh, wow. That's a great question.
Tough one. Yeah.
Hey, Ben, how's it going? That's a great question. There's going to be a lot, but I will say that working with Herschel Gordon Lewis on the sequel to Blood Feast, and most people don't realize that Blood Feast, the original Blood Feast, is considered by Joe Bob Briggs, maybe not by everybody, but by Joe Bob Briggs, which is good enough for my standards, the very first slasher splatter movie ever made. Some people will say Psycho, but Psycho didn't really exploit gore or blood. So, Blood Feast, it's 1963. And there was an effect I did in that film that Herschel specifically requested I do a certain way. And it was where a girl gets a they take a turkey carver to the back of a girl's neck, and they slice her neck, and then they peel her skin over her face like an orange peel. And when I took that job, it was handed to me by the production company, special effects company I was working with, because they weren't offering very much money to do the effects. So they handed it to me to do. And they were betting, they were like counting. They wanted to see if I fail. They were like, let's see if this kid can, let's see what this kid can do. Things and stuff, blah, blah, blah. and they had no idea that it was going to be like the beginning of an amazing relationship with Herschel, and it was going to be like the best thing that ever happened to my career. So I took this minuscule amount of money that they gave me, and I made this. I did my best. I made I took a life cast of this girl. Her name was Beverly Hubsher, Beverly Lynn, who is a star of the original Terror Tunes, and I made a mold of her head and her torso and her arms and her thighs, I think, and her back and her butt, and so I made these generic female body parts. And I knew all the girls had to be killed, and I made this beautiful skinned headpiece, and just some basic, simple puppeteering. But I put wire hangers through the back of the skull up to the eyeball, so the eyes could have a little jiggle, like And I put one in the tongue. I made sure the tongue was made out of it was basically a urethane resin, but it was just when silicone was starting off in 2000, I guess, and so it would flop in the mouth. And I did my best with very little money to make that effect just like wow. Herschel just loved it, and it began an amazing friendship with Herschel Gordon Lewis, who became one of my biggest inspirations and mentors for over a decade. And he of course has passed on, and I can't say how much that man did for all of us. I mean, us three, we're all sitting here having a conversation because of the likes of Herschel, because of the likes of Fred and these people, but Herschel, is one of them. Yeah.
Oh, pioneer. I'm a big collector, obviously, and that box set that they put out of like most of his entire filmography, it's like the cereal box. That's probably my favorite in my collection. Herschel, those movies hold up so well. They're just so entertaining. Every single thing he did. I'm a big Color Me Blood Red guy, and yeah.
Whenever I come across someone that thinks they're a real horror junkie, I go, "Hey, do you know what the first slasher movie is ever made?" And they're like, "The Texas Chainsaw Massacre." I'm like, "No, sir, no." And then I have to school them on that, and then I go even further. Like, if you run across somebody that doesn't know who Herschel is out in the regular world, I'm like, "Have you ever seen that movie Juno?" And most people have, because didn't it win an Academy Award? It won like an Academy
I believe so. Yeah.
Best director.
I'm like, I said, "Did you ever see the movie Juno?" And they said, they're like, "Yeah." Do you remember when the girl was seducing the man for the first time? I think they were in her apartment, and she goes, "Have you ever seen The Wizard of Gore?" Do you remember that? Do you remember that? He goes, "Have you seen The Wizard of Gore?" And he goes, "No, I have not." He goes, "You've never seen The Wizard of Gore? Let's put it on and watch it." And it's true. It's like Herschel told me when they made that film that he didn't know that they had used the piece. They shot it and whatever. And then one day a giant check just came in the mail and said, "Thank you for letting us use you there." So, but yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Actually, Ben has a couple more questions.
Okay.
What's your weirdest fan interaction?
Oh, that could be awkward. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna say any names.
Okay.
But sometimes I wonder, like, I've had a fan who was like, a closeted gay man who wanted to be a part of my productions, who then turned out to be a stalker, who I had to and like it turned, they come innocently, they get innocently into your life. Let me be a PA, let me help. But you have no idea that they are stalking you, and it took a while to get rid of that one, but it did take a while. It took almost a year and a half.
Oh, wow.
I won't say any names, but that was a really crazy one, and other than that, everybody's pretty. I'm the weird one. I'm the one you got to be worried. I'm the one you got to be afraid of. Yeah.
Well, Ben's next one's a little easier. What's the coolest thing that's happened to you being a horror director?
That's a great question. There's a lot of cool things have happened, but like here's like a couple off the top of my head. I have the Guinness Book of World Record for the highest body count in the slasher
Summer of
movie.
Massacre.
Summer of Massacre, 155 kills. Yeah, that was a really cool thing. And then also being able to be written up and be considered a director in famous monsters of filmland by Forrest G. Ackerman. I did either of you two ever buy famous monsters of filmland off the actual shelf? Right, in 1977, I bought like issue number, I don't know what it was, maybe it was 78 or something like that. And then I got to be friends with Forrest G. Ackerman, and later on I cast him in my first feature film, Ceremony, and then he did a write up in Famous Monster Film. That was really cool to see my name in the magazine with and he compared me to the likes of John Landis and Joe Dante and this kind of thing. So that was cool. And then ultimately, what I really, really love, I love making special effects for my nieces and my nephews and my friends' kids. That's like the best for Halloween, making costumes, making like really gory Halloween costumes for children. That really takes the cake. This past year, I made one of my best friend's son up as a zombie, and just like super realistic flesh hanging off this child's face, with blood dripping down, and painting his hands so they're all rotted and whatever. I gave him a giant, a nice big arm to carry around with him, like his, that kind of thing. That's always fun. The adults look at that like, where do you get that weirdness from? Where do you get that blood from? Oh my God.
Nobody's giving him any toothpaste. So
we got another one. This one's from Indie Phantom. What products or technology has impressed you or made your craft easier or better?
That's a great question. Right now, my biggest tool that I love to use is this EcoFlex 30, which is it's not brand new, but it's new to me and I love working with it. It's a silicone. It's a very, very fleshy silicone, and it's easy to paint, and it just makes amazing realistic flesh. If you want, if you want the stuff to jiggle like real human skin, and you really want to have this hyper realistic illusion happening, you want to use this EcoFlex, and I think it's by Smooth On. But and painting it's very simple as well. I paint it with silicone paints, and very quick, easy splattering and a little light airbrushing, and you get some really, really realistic stuff. But ultimately, anything silicone, unless you want your stuff to look like it's something from the 80s and you want to use rubber and foam, then that's classic. But I tend to like do this stuff. Like I like people ask me, what do you consider your expertise? And I like to go with, a little bit of hyper realism. I always like to start with something real and go from there. I think too fantasy, you might lose a large audience if it's too weird and obscure. I've done that already, and I kind of want to move on to some new things, and I'm trying to do a lot of hyper realistic stuff. I think people get like really sickened and grossed out by hyper realistic stuff, and it doesn't take much to do it either. If you look at like actually like medically accurate creepy shit, it doesn't really take a lot of blood to do it. In fact, too much blood might actually spoil the effect if you don't do it correctly, and silicone's my jam. I love it.
Kind of a follow-up. Do you prefer realistic effects or more comically outrageous? And what did you find most challenging?
Yeah. So a really good mentor of mine said something. I've had some amazing mentors over the years, and especially in the last few years, I had a chance to sit and watch Brian Wade. He's an amazing sculptor. I can't even tell you how many different things he's done that we have all enjoyed. One of them being the remake of John Carpenter's The Thing. He worked on that. I had to sit and watch this man work and sculpt and learn from him. And then, of course, Rob Berman, Tom Berman's son. Tom Berman is responsible for every creature feature that we loved growing up. The Prophecy, The Beast Within, Cat People, and and then Rob worked on John Carpenter's remake of The Thing, Ghostbusters. I just on and on and on. It's so many different movies. Anyways, Rob told me, if you don't master realism, you will never understand surrealism. And when he told me that, half of learning is really not really. Half of learning for me has been understanding what is being told to me through the eyes of my mentor, through the eyes of the person who's teaching me, not my own eyes, because my own eyes will put a filter into it. You know what I'm saying? Like the information goes in, I put in the Joe filter, and then you get something else out. And I don't want that. I want the right from the source. And that's what Rob told me. He said, Joe, you need to understand and perfect realism before you master surrealism. And I understood what he meant, and I took it and ran with it. So I like over the top comical stuff if it's done and it's like truly original, You know, I like that. Now, stuff that's over the top, it's like I've seen it before. No, you know, and but I kind of like to go more for the hyper realistic stuff these days. And that's because I've done all the kind of campy stuff in the past, so I try to stay more towards the realistic stuff today.
That's awesome. One question I was curious, because this doesn't really get brought up a lot, is you worked on the remake of Humanoids from the Deep, which they remade a series of Corman films, Wasp Woman, and I never hear that talked about. So it's kind of Piranha. Yeah, it wasn't the first. That was the first remake.
Yeah.
What was that like? I know it was an early one for you.
Yeah, I didn't really. I was just in it for a blip. I just came in and built this nest, which was basically a plastic and sheet foam construction of the nest that the women were in on the beach when they were lying in there, you know, all covered in the moss and stuff. And I just glued a whole bunch of crap that was laying around the shop on this nest. Of course, other people may look at it and say, "That's amazing how you do it," but you know, at this point. The shop I was working for, you know, they pumped all the money into the suit. And what they did was they built like the head, the arms, the torso, the legs, the feet, but they forgot to build all the stuff in between that connected it together. So when they put it all together, like, well, what are we going to do about that right there? You can see where it's separated. What can you do? And so they said, Joe, you know, like, of course, go to Joe. Joe knows how to make something out of nothing. So they had me come in and make all the little pieces that put the suit, kind of pieced it all together. So that's what I did last minute. So, you know, I did my best, but I was kind of like in it only for a few days, probably like 4 or 5 days, a week on it. I'm sure I remember it being a very fast shoot anyways. It wasn't like, I mean, they spent like, I think almost a decade in pre-production trying to get the movie off the ground. And then, of course, they had high hopes to make it really huge. But when it really went down, it was like, here's a quarter, kid. Let's go see what you got you make with it. They had these beautiful designs and whatnot. I'm like, nah, you can't do that. There's no money for that. Just do something quick. Come on, let's go. You know, and you got to make a nest, Joe. Can you make a nest for us? We'll pay you an hourly rate. Come on, make a nest. Go. What do you got? I got a box of junk over there. Go glue it together. You know, it was fun times. You know, it's good times. I'm happy to say that I was able to somehow be a part of that little beautiful thing that we all love, right? Humanoids from the Deep. So.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I remember Wasp Woman being pretty good too.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, it's actually underrated. It's a decent little, very low budget, but decent little movie.
I gotta see that one. Yeah.
We actually have another one from Indy. Have you been grossed out by an effect you did? What makes you squeamish in terms of body horror, for example?
That's a great question. Do I get grossed out by some of the effects I did? I recently did a movie called Pig Killer. Stars Biling and this beautiful new actress. Her name is Katie, and she's gonna hate me for forgetting her last name. Jake Busey plays the killer in the film.
Cool.
It's called Pig Killer. Here, you know what? Can we
it's Katie Patel, and it's directed by Chad Farron.
Yeah. Chad Farron directed this thing.
Yeah.
This movie is going to give you the creeps. There's some creepy crap in it. I mean, creepy stuff in it. And but I love the fact that when Chad uses my gore, he just uses enough of it. He doesn't use it gratuitously, and and it's simple stuff that no one really thinks about, but it creeps you the hell out. And there's a scene where these pigs are eating body parts at the beginning, and of course I use silicone for it. And we thought they would just, you know, kind of like lick the top of it up. Some of them actually ate them like whole, you know, and it was disturbing. I was using air cannons to splatter blood all over the pigs, big splatters of blood. That was disgusting. And because I was using tomato sauce with the syrup, because I wanted them to lick and eat everything. And there's also a scene where a girl gets a hypodermic needle filled with Freon in her eyeball, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. And there's enough to make your skin crawl. It's all gonna make your skin, and it's all shown. There's nothing. What do you call it? What do they say when they do it? And there's nothing suggestive about the effects.
No.
Chad, and another Trauma alumni. I know we've been fans of his for years, and
Unspeakable was his first. And you also have a Trauma title in your catalog too.
I do. Trauma distributed a movie that I produced with on my father's goat ranch called Legend of the Chupacabra.
Yes.
And my husband's Steven Escobar. That's where we met. We met on that set.
Okay.
And we shot on my father's goat ranch in Helotes, Texas for like $3,500 back in 1997. And it's a mockumentary. In fact, it was shot the same month and the same year they were shooting Blair Witch.
Yeah.
It was a mockumentary, horror mockumentary. And it's about a cryptozoology team going into the wilderness looking for the actual chupacabra. And Lionsgate was going to pick it up. And what was the name of the company that distributed Anchor Bay? No, what's the name of
Artisan.
Artisan Entertainment distributed Blair Witch, and Lionsgate just couldn't see how they could do anything with my film because it was a kind of a camp. It wasn't done the same way, and so they passed on it, and it just landed in Troma's lap. And Troma was a little different at the time, but yeah, they kept the movie for 20 years, and they made a big chunk of money off of it. Yeah.
So do they still have it, or is it coming? Or is it
No,
came
no,
back?
I have everything. I have it all back.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Oh,
they gave it
nice,
back,
nice.
Yeah. And but yeah, I have copies of it. It's a fun, campy little film. I just I've moved so far beyond it. Of course, we all grow and we move beyond it. Even the original Terror Tunes, I feel like I moved beyond. I don't know that I'll ever make another Terror Tunes. I don't know that I'll ever make like another cult-ish film. I've made so many of them. We recently made a movie called Xenophobia back in right before the pandemic. It's just straight up sci-fi Twilight Zone kind of film. It's an anthology film about alien abductions, and really enjoyed making it. And it has some really cool alien effects in it. I don't know that I'll never do another one of those again, but it was definitely interesting to do like just a straight up mainstream kind of film. And people loved it. It was entertaining, and something I'm really proud of. So
Yeah, I saw it. I like that one quite a bit as well.
Thank you. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
I know you can't say too much, but I know our viewers will not be happy if I don't bring it up. You're doing a kind of a big slasher sequel.
That's right. We're talking about Mutilator 2.
Yeah.
It's called Mutilator 2, not The Mutilator 2, but Mutilator 2, directed by the original Buddy Cooper. Bud Cooper is the director, the man, the myth, the legend that directed the first film back in 1983 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I got a chance to meet him and work with him on set in North Carolina, Atlantic Beach, and he had an amazing crew of people, probably 40 of us out there. I was out there for 17 days, and they were just doing the kills for 17 days. And, then they had a whole other month after I left to shoot other stuff. But we killed a lot of people, and Bud wrote the script with a couple of people, but the deaths were amazing. That's all I can say is they're amazing. And I know he doesn't want me to give any of it away. I know they're gonna. If everything goes well, I mean, hopefully we'll get a theatrical release of it, a small theatrical like Terrifier or something like that.
I was going to say Terrifier 2. Hopefully that's going to push a lot more indie people to get into the theaters now.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Mutilator 2 will get a theatrical, and we can all see the gore on the big screen. But I made some amazing things for it, and I'm looking forward to sharing all that new technology that I use to do this stuff with the Mutilator 2. So, and it's a pretty big body count too, much bigger than the first film. So,
yeah, we're excited. Been a long time. I'm glad that got a sequel.
Yeah, I got a sequel, and what else? I can't really say much about it. I
know.
I can't really say much about it.
But we just had to bring it up. You did that.
I posted a picture of like me making a life cast in someone's arm, and they're like, "Take it down." I'm like, "Okay, I'll take it down." So.
That's awesome. Was it intimidating for you to make the jump into acting, or was it something that came natural to you?
This is what happened. About 3.5 years ago, I was on a movie set doing my special effects. I think I had put something like makeup on somebody, and the director yelled, "Action!" Okay, now you're gonna die or whatever, right? Whatever. And I'm watching them do their death scene. I'm like, I can do better than this. Jesus, you're making my work look bad. Come on. and so I'm like, you know what? I need to act. And that's it. Tom did it. Tom Savani did it. I need to do this. I need to put a face with the work, and I want to get out there. And I had taken some acting back in high school, middle school, but never really had done anything professionally with it. So I went ahead. The very next job I got as a special effects artist I asked the director. I said, "Hey, I want to act. Can you put me as a lead role in one of your films?" I said, "Don't put me in a small part. I'm ready to be a big gun, and I will definitely deliver for you." And it was a young man named Matthew Vanaha. We talk about this. He just directed a vampire movie called Appetite for Sin about this. I mean, like drop dead gorgeous, beautiful coven of female vampires killing people in Los Angeles, and I become the lead detective trying to solve the crimes. And so he cast me as a lead detective in it, and I immediately took a professional acting class here in Los Angeles from a man that is an acting. It's not. It's not. What do you call? It's not an acting coach. He's like an acting. He will Let's put it this way. Some of these big movie stars here in Hollywood, this is how bad they are as actors. They bring in like this guy, right? This guy that I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
They'll bring him in on set, and he will read the line the way it's supposed to be read. And then the actor will then just copy it. That's what they do with this guy. So I went and took this guy's acting class for a month. And basically what he taught me was, Joe, if you don't know how to act, you never will, because you don't understand what acting is. And I realized that I had everything I needed inside of me, you know. And I did the acting class for weeks. I wrote a piece, I performed it, and then I jumped right in, and we just had the premiere, and it was amazing. I loved it. I love acting. I'm to all your independent filmmakers out there watching this. If you need a lead actor in your film, sign me up. And I also come with amazing special effects. So it's good. Yeah, 2 for 1. But yeah, it's different than doing special effects. But if you have you all had a chance to act? Have you had a chance to do any acting?
I have, and well, Todd kind of sort of. Todd got punched in something once.
It feels amazing. It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. I just was at the premiere of a movie that I worked on last night called That's a Wrap, and it's directed by Marcel Waltz and written by Joe Netter, and stars Sarah French and Monique Parent, and it's amazing cast of industry professionals. But I do create the gore for the film, but I got to have a little tiny cameo in it at the end, and it was so gratifying because Tom Savini also has a cameo in the film. So it was nice to I feel like I finally, it's it. I'm done. Ta-da! I kind of feel like so he got a cameo and I got it. And I have a Tom Savini story. I don't know. Everybody must have a Tom Savini story. I mean, he's inspired so many people. I mean, come on. I mean, every gore effect known today has some sort of one of his techniques involved in it. And Tom, back in 1982, when I was 12 years old, we used to have this thing called 411, and you would dial 411, and if you really were smart and you knew that where the person lived, city and state, you dialed the area code and then 411, and it would go directly to that 411, their yellow pages. And if a phone number was listed in the yellow pages or the white pages, you could get their phone number. So I called Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 411. I said, "Hello, may I have the number for Tom Savini?" And then sure enough, he was listed, so they gave me his own phone number. And I used to call him on the phone all the time. And Hey Tom, how you do that? How did you do that in the movie? How'd you do that? And of course, I probably sounded like, I don't know what I sounded. I sounded like a little kid. Hey Tom, how you doing? Of course, he probably got a big kick out of it, but also he's a super nice guy. I mean, he was super nice to me, and he spent the time to talk with me and inspire me and tell me what to do. And that's rare. Like him. Brian Wade, I was talking about, Rob Berman, Don Lanning, these Herschel Gordon Lewis, and these types that Herschel was a special effects artist. He's a closet specialist. He invented his own blood formula for Blood Feast. And most people don't know this. Well, some people know. A lot of people know. I'm the only living person that knows the blood formula for blood feast.
Wow.
So he told me before he
Oh.
died. So sometimes I'll mix up a little batch of it and take it to set. It's still very useful at times. It works great in dark lighting. It uses that vivid, bright red blood, and it also sits on top of cloth very well. So I still use it from time to time, and it's just nice to know that Herschel still lives on in movies of today. With blood and stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's something I just like seeing it. It takes me back.
It's kind of like a sick blood red. People say it's a vibrant blood red. Take a look at it. It's like a meaty, sick kind of throw up blood red. It just reminds me of. Yeah. I like it.
Oh man, nostalgic for HD.
Yeah.
I always go ahead.
No, I was gonna say when I think of I think of Herschel's blood and I think of Savini's Dawn of the Dead blood.
Oh yeah.
They both have like their own look and
that sick kind of red, vivid red look. Oh, like it smells. Yeah, it's super thick too. Like
it looks like paint almost.
Very vibrant. Yep. Yeah.
Do you have any recollections of David Carradine?
I do, but it's not good.
Oh.
No, well, I mean, maybe not good in the sense that people, I don't know how people remembered, but I just remember him being very intoxicated.
Bruce Campbell had similar,
Yeah, very intoxicated, and also remember him being half naked, basically, half naked and intoxicated. He had literally flames tattooed where his pubic hair was. Coming up off his pubic hair. He had flames coming out of his groin, I was 19 years old. I was a little, farm boy from Helotes, Texas, and there was David Carradine with flames coming out of his groin, Little gay man. I'm like going, oh my gosh. So that's my memory, and being very, very intoxicated. I remember him being funny and witty and on all the time and sexy and naughty. Yeah, that was my memories of him.
And you had some memories from Evil Dead too.
Oh yeah. Well, so when I was 15 years old, I was in a national special effects monster making contest that was presented by Monsterland magazine, which was also a subsidiary or like an offshoot magazine of Famous Monsters of Filmland, which was produced by Herschel Forrest C. Ackerman, who is the editor in chief of Famous Monsters of Filmland, and so. When I won that contest when I was 15 years old. So when I was 16, maybe it was 16 to 17, I was flown out to Los Angeles. I was the winner of the contest, and I got to be taken around to different special effects shops. I got to meet John Carl Buechler while he was making Ghoulies 2. I got to actually hold and touch and puppet some of the Ghoulies 2 puppets. I got to meet Ken Hall at the time and Cleve Hall, who also worked on Have you ever seen Nightmare in a Damaged Brain?
Oh yeah.
Yes, it's one of my favorites.
So good. It's such a good movie. And I had no idea that Cleve even worked on Nightmare in a Damaged Brain. And he had become my friend, and until I cast him in a movie that I directed called The Summer of Massacre. And when I went to put his credit in on IMDb, it linked it to Nightmare in a Damaged Brain. I'm like, what? And sure, I was like, Cleve, you worked on Nightmare? And he said, yep, I worked on Nightmare. It's like, wow, it's a small world. But I got to meet, went to John Carl Buechler. John Carl Buechler was an amazing man as well. Like, so giving of his time and his attention to anybody that was willing to listen and learn his skills and his techniques of what he was doing. And then, of course, I was taken to Doug Beswick's studio. Doug Beswick was Rick Baker's partner for many years, and they made Octoman together. And Doug Beswick was making the giant pumpkin head creature that comes through the door at the end of Evil Dead 2. That big thing that's chomping its jaws, and it has the head stuck to the side of the head. And I think one of them pops out and goes, "Swallow your soul," or something like that. And so they had the giant pumpkin there. They had just finished. And I so badly wanted a picture of it, but they did let me go up and touch it. And then, of course, they had the stop motion models of was it Henrietta? No, not Henrietta. Yeah. What was it? The girlfriend's name?
Oh no, yeah, Henrietta is the older lady.
No, yeah. So they had some stop motion animation models of the girl that did the dance and the cabin and whatnot there, and I got a chance to see that. And yeah, so that was an amazing experience, being able to have a little connection with the Evil Dead 2, Yeah. Ever seen Inner Space?
Oh,
Yeah,
that,
Joe Dante.
that's funny. That's on one of our other podcasts. That's his favorite movie on our other shows. Is
Who,
Inner Space.
who's favorite movie?
It's Ozzy V. He's
Oh
on
yeah,
our.
oh
He's on
yeah,
our. We do
yeah.
a
Inner
comedy
Space.
one. His
Okay,
favorite movie.
Inner Space is like one of a kind, right? It's
Yeah.
Joe Dante, and
Yeah.
so Joe Dante picked the winner of that contest that I won. It was Joe Dante and John Carbiegler picked the winners, and so I got to go to the set of Inner Space. That was what it was, and so they were shooting. Do you remember a scene where let's see, Robert Picardo, Robert Picardo, and the comedian, what's his name?
Martin
Short. Martin Short is with the girl, the blonde girl. Oh, fuck, I forget her name. Anyways, they're all four of them are in a nightclub dancing.
Okay.
And so I was taking the set, and there was these giant set doors. We didn't know where to walk in, and we opened the set doors. Of course, you ruined the take. Then sunlight just blasts in the middle of this dance number, and they're like, "Cut, cut, cut!" My first real experience in Hollywood on a big set. And Joe Dante is not very tall. He's like a short little guy. He comes walking over. Hello, what's going on over here? I'm like, and then I was introduced to Joe Dante. He goes, "Oh, come on over here." He sat me. Well, he moved the art director out of the art director's chair and sat me in the art director's chair, and right next to him. And they went on with the filming. I got to see a little bit of that. That was amazing experience. But yeah, it's one of my favorite films as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
ILM and Rob Bottin. I was supposed to meet Rob Bottin during that visit, but he was busy working on the effects, and they were trying to keep everything super hush hush about the transformation sequence with the fluttering face and all that stuff for the film. Yeah.
Oh wow!
Very cool.
Do you have any other upcoming? I know you got a lot in development, but any other upcoming projects that you want to promote?
Let's see here. Oh gosh. Okay, let's see. I'm thinking maybe I should just go to the IMDb on my Facebook.
I know. I was going to say it's a very active IMDb.
Let me see. Let me go right here and go. So this is what I have. That's going to be. You want to talk about the stuff that's going to be released?
Yeah.
Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, we got Pig Killer, which is an amazing movie. It was just screened first at AFM. It stars Jake Busey, Biling, and Katie Port. What do you say, Katie? Katie's gonna hate me.
Katie Patel.
Katie Patel. Okay, you got to see that movie. It's a great film for all horror fans. It's like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets The Doors.
Oh wow!
Because it's got that like that real hip kind of vibe, kind of thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
And then hold on a second. Let me see here. Blah 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 blah. Oh no, that's wrong. Terror Toons 4, obviously.
Yeah.
And then Appetite for Sin, The Once and Future Smash with Michael J. Epstein and Sophia. I don't know how to pronounce that. Cosciola. She's gonna hate me for that too. And Neil Jones. Yeah, have you heard of it? The Once and Future Smash. It's a mock documentary about the making of a slasher film. But even better than the documentary is the film that it's about. It's called End Zone 2. So what the direct filmmakers did was they shot this micro budget, shot on film looking movie that was supposed to take place in the 70s. And now they made a documentary about it in the year 2022. And it's just pure entertainment from beginning to end. You're going to love it. Yeah,
wow.
The Once and Future Smash and End Zone 2. You got to see that. And then, okay, let me go back here.
I'm looking at that cast on that one. I see Mark Schaefer. I'm popping for that one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's a bunch of like cool people in this one.
Mark Schaefer is not in enough.
Yeah.
Pretty Boy, which is also directed by Marcel Waltz, which is the sequel to Blind. It's a slasher movie. Stars Jed Rowan, Sarah French, and Jed Rowan plays the killer. He wears this weird kind of pretty boy looking mask. I did all the slasher stuff for that. There's some cool like Friday 13th part 3 moments in that film. I'm at my IMDb page. They've kind of like rearranged IMDb like it's weird.
Yeah,
they did some weird stuff to it. I can't get to my list of stuff. I have The Barn 2's coming out. Appetite for Sin. There's a movie out right now called Nightcaller, which is directed by Chad Farron about a scalper. It's kind of like it's kind of like a crime drama meets Maniac, the original Maniac, and there's a lot of scalping in it. We're getting ready to shoot the sequel to it. It's called Scalper. I'm shooting it this month.
Ooh, okay.
I got St. Drago happening up in Rhode Island, which is I can't even describe what it is, but it's a very surreal kind of I don't know. It's a very surreal, nightmarish movie, and I'm making some really bizarre kind of like ritualistic kills in it, and also a ritualistic character for that. And God dang it, you won't even get me to the rest of it. Clown Motel 2. Let me see here. Of course, Mutilator 2. Oh, Tin Roof, directed by Rebecca Reinhardt and written by Rob Mello and the guy from Happy Death Day, The Killer. And and Rebecca wrote it, directed it. Love working with female directors. They have such an amazing kind of like just a different perspective of everything. But all the kills in the movie are great. Some really cool kills. And I have a cameo in that as well. A movie called Name the Demon. I don't know how much I'm supposed to talk about that, but I will say it's a mockumentary style film, a shot like one of the found footage film, and it involves a demon, and they had me do like some very unconventional special effects for it, like stuff that went way out on a limb for me to do, and they may be kind of like subtle, but they were like very hard to accomplish. Very difficult accomplishment. I think it's going to be a really a wild ride, a real wild ride. It's funny. I see all they're saying what some of my upcoming films are, but I don't think those are on the slate anymore. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of other stuff here. Let me see. Yeah. Anyways, okay. Yeah.
I don't know what they did to IMDb. It's not as user friendly anymore.
The Beast Comes at Midnight. The Barn 2. Have you seen The Barn?
Oh yeah, Barn's great.
Have you seen The Barn 2 yet?
No, not
I've
yet.
heard nothing but amazing things about it. Nothing but amazing things. I got to reinvent the 3 lead villains for the film. Justin Seaman, amazing director. He really knows how to like delegate authority to get the most out of the talent around him. And he allowed me to reinvent the 3 lead villains for the film. And he had me come in and do like 2 days of zombies and zombie kills, which was amazing. I think I did like 24 or some odd zombies and zombie kills in 2 days. Did I say there's a movie called The Bleeding Dark, which is an amazing little movie, but I don't think it's ever going to be released. And it stars Eileen Dietz and God, he's going to hate me. Oh, the guy from the original Children of the Corn. Jesus.
John Franklin?
No, the redhead.
Yeah, I know.
Courtney Gaines.
Courtney Gaines and Eileen Dietz. It's a ghost story. I did some phenomenal kills in that film. I don't know if it's ever going to see the light of day, but it was an amazing movie. Country Club, directed by Shane Bradford. It's a whole brand new crew of people down in South Texas making horror movies, and I have a cameo in that film. He's getting ready to make a new film called Bud, but it's basically Southern Texas, homegrown barbecue, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, chop them up, kill them, slasher, kind of thing. And it's a great story. It's a great little story he's got going there. It's like a Motel Hell meets the Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of thing. And but yeah, that should be coming out soon. And I have, like I said, a couple of things on my plate right now that I'm working on. But my big thing is getting Terror Toons 4 off my plate, and so I can move on and enjoy the holidays. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we're really excited, Todd. I'm jealous you get to see it in person, but I look forward to checking it out as soon as it gets its release. So, yeah, Joe, thank you so much for coming on with us tonight. It's been awesome. We'll have to have you back. I know, obviously, you've had a very long career, so there's probably a lot to still talk about and a lot to come, obviously. So, yeah.
Well, thank you, Dan, and thank you, Todd, for having me on the show. I've been doing this for 40 years, and I kind of feel like I just got started. So we got about 40. I want to be like 98. Like they come and pick me up in the morning, and I go to set, put a little blood on, and maybe have some lunch on set, and then the kids can bring me home, put me in bed before the evening news. I'll be just fine. Let's see if we can make that happen.
We'll make it happen. 40 years from now, you'll be back promoting your next film.
That would be so amazing. And once again, like I said, I'm so grateful for all the hard work that you both do for the independent film community. We really appreciate you if you haven't been told yet.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming on.
Yes.
And
yeah, because we had you on one time before, way back when we were just doing audio.
I won the Demonoid the disc, the DVD from you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yes, you won that too.
That was like totally rocked my world, man. I hadn't seen that I saw that movie in the theater when it was released.
Wow.
That's how old I am. And to be able to like see that again, I remember seeing the credits. I mean, I'm not sorry, the actual trailer on network television when it was released in the theaters for the first time, seeing that burned body like jump up out of the grave, and as a child that like was so nightmarish. So when I was able to get the disc from you guys, when I won it from you guys, that totally made my whole week, month, whatever. And I showed it to my husband. I'm like, you gotta watch Demonoid. So all right, well, listen, gentlemen, have a beautiful holiday season. Don't be a stranger. I'll see you on Friday, Todd, and we'll talk real soon, Dan. And if you're out there and you want to make a movie, send me a friend request on Facebook or Instagram, but more importantly, send me a message. Let's talk.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Great show, great guest, and we will see you back here next time. Good night.
Good evening.